Hey, okay, I'm back. Could you please let me know what your name is and what the call is about, real quick?
Nicholas, Nicholas,
Mm.
Woodall, Woodall.
Okay.
The call was about the steps that this office would require to create legislation around some judiciary issues, requiring states to adhere to certain rules and procedures, creating materials and providing them.
Okay.
And I got
Give
a
me.
message from him, but I got a number that said it was a non-working number.
Okay. Let me double check that, and I'll be right back.
Thank you.
Hey, Nicholas, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. I was just giving you a call back in regard to that message. So I
Yeah,
think you kind
I'm
of
sorry.
nail
Can
on
you
the
speak
head.
up a bit?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, barely, but I can manage.
Okay, perfect. Well, just returning your call. So I do think it's a good idea. I think increased information and increased knowledge for everybody is always a good thing. It is kind of vague right now, and we can, or that could be changed with just better information and more
Sir.
accessible information.
I still can't hear you. Can you, is it possible that you have an ability to turn up the volume in your phone? Or speak?
I do not. I do not. Could you turn up the volume on your phone?
I can't, not any more than it already is, and I'm as far away from this machine as I can be. I can hear you a bit better now. Could you repeat
Okay,
that
great.
last statement?
Yeah, no, we just think access to information is always a good thing, and right now that isn't easily accessible and it's very complicated. But this would be something that needs to be handled on a local level because, laws are not uniform, even city to city, much less state to state. So if something like this or a program like this were to be instated, it would be done on the state level. That said, I'd
Right.
love to give you
See,
the...
I would argue this. There's a certain, or I would ask this, not argue this. I would say that it may need to be argued. States are required, let's say you're driving on a federal road, or to vote in a federal election, or to have, citizenship. You have to have Social Security cards. There's certain levels of requirements that all American citizens are required to meet in order to participate in certain programs, or have certain liberties, to have certain, to have a driver's license. You have to meet certain standards to pass a test. I can't tell you if that information is a minimum level of information from state to state that is, required by federal standards. If the federal standard says, to get a driver's license, states require, or states must, inform of these rules, stoplights, and so on and so forth, speeding. I don't know that issue. But what's being asked is that it would be required of states, of all states in federal jurisdictions, to provide to their citizens a minimum level of information, similar to the concept that all persons are permitted free speech. All persons are entitled to the right to be introduced to, and in some form or in some measure, educated in the rights and responsibilities that they have to the law, whether that be interactions with law enforcement or whether it be interactions with other people, whether it be simply introducing them to where they find the laws. Could be as simple as that. Additionally, because so many people are in our country that don't have the ability to read English, don't have the ability to speak English, naturalization tests don't require a lot for simple work visas, which is the majority of the migrants, the legal migrants in our country. And as far as those people turning into illegal migrants and then having kids who go to school who require ESL classes and so on and so forth, those members, those persons aren't necessarily able to use the justice system in a productive way because they don't have translations available. Now, Google makes stuff available online, but Google isn't official translations, and I think that it would be beneficial to not only this party, but to the, most importantly, to the country to have translations available. Say, look, we understand that you may not have the ability to take this information on your own and report crimes when you see them. Well, now you'll have a more improved ability to use the justice system. You see illegals across the street, you can call, you can have some kind of expectation that they will be, in prison for 3 years or whatever. You see the drug dealers or whatever it wants to be. If it's criminals, people stealing from people, whatever it is. And so while Texas has implemented this program on a state level in a small measure, myself and others think that it's important, that it's more important that it be required of all citizens on a national level, because it's more than just a civil right. It should be a human right to be able to say, I know where to find information that relates to the laws that govern me. This information has been provided to me by my government because if laws are going to be imposed upon people, people should know the difference between, this is where measures of punishment comes up, the difference between something that's a misdemeanor or a felony. Honestly, me, and this has nothing to do with y'all, I'm not the majority, y'all are the educated elect, y'all can decide on this, but for me, I know that a misdemeanor, you walk up and punch someone, it could be a misdemeanor. You could turn around and insult someone or defame them, and that could be a felony, depending on what you do, depending on how you say it. If you say, anyways, and that's neither here nor there. I'm not law educated. None of the people that I've spoken with are, that are in support of this are, at least yet. Understanding measures of punishment is going to improve the justice system. So if states are required to have this information and educate in some form, it will be a deterrent. Whether it's for arguing, produces situations where people walk away or know when they can defend themselves, or if it's situations where people decide not to rob a store with a gun, then their robbery fails. That's a win-win right there. But the concept is that persons should be, in at least some measure, introduced to the law in a formal fashion, whether that's signs that are in libraries, small 5-minute informationals in schools, a couple, a couple posters at the courthouse and other public buildings, maybe signs that are at the library, maybe a couple signs that say you're now, entering the United States. These are our laws. These are where you can find our laws in translation. If you see something, say something. You can report it. I'm in the process of talking with Texas about putting signs up. But again, sir, this is a national issue. These are national issues. These are American issues. These aren't just these are civil rights issues. They're not just simply state issues. This is an issue of what is the fairest way to govern. You with me?
Yes, sir.
The fairest way to govern is to, in some measure, inform of and educate into the laws that persons are ruled by. if you're not educated and informed of the laws that you're that you're governed by, then you can't respect those laws. You can't use that justice system. And so that is the reason that it's being asked at a national level and not a statewide level, not a local level, because it's something that persons should be entitled to. And I think that that's where the biggest party issue is that, Democrats say, this is broken, that's broken. Lots of things are broken, right? I would say that when it comes to immigration, we have people here that come over to work and they can't report crimes that happen to them because they don't speak and read English well enough to have some type of reliable source to determine if it's a good decision for them to use the justice system. They have to get a translator to translate when they call, but that's neither here nor there. So I do think that this is, I would say that the Republican Party is a party of fairness and reasonable judgment, far more than the opposing party. And so to say that creating or introducing, maybe bringing up some type of just research, whether it's just pinning to make legislation that would create a committee to review what would be reasonable, what would be fairest, what would be the best way to do this, would be a wonderful step. To say that, we see that this is important, that the best way to govern is to govern by introduction before enforcement. It would reduce, from knowing people who have been in prison and incarcerated and having, a fair amount of jail time myself, I know that there's a lot of resentment. I know there's a lot of ignorance and misunderstanding, and people who live off crime or continually cycle through the system, it is a result of lack of sight, lack of ability to find solutions, or they're greedy and they see opportunities, they're shameful or whatever have you. They don't want to go to the soup kitchen. They would rather hurt someone else to benefit themselves. So this is an opportunity to minimize that. And while crime, only affects I think it's 1% of the population of the United States, 1 to 3% has been convicted of a felony. The impact of criminal activity affects everybody, from taxpayers to who have you, the people, the actual victims. And so that is why I say, myself and others say, that this should be required as a standard nationally, just like free speech, just like, what would you say, the Fourth Amendment, reasonable seizure, or the right to a jury trial, and so on and so forth. Can you explain to me what your thoughts are?
Yeah, no. So I would say that I agree with you. I think information be accessible and
I'm sorry, sir, can you speak up?
Yes, sir. So again, access to information always benefits everybody. So laws like that would be helpful, especially to explain laws that are commonly broken. It might be a little more complex and not as straightforward. Again, I think this would be much easier, and a great place to start is on the local level, because it is not a one-size-fits-all situation. Each state has different laws, and at the same time, we can continue to monitor in D.C., and if we see any opportunities to sponsor legislation like this, we will take them. But at the end of the day, I think you can get this ball rolling on the state level and create more momentum state by state before this could be picked up nationally. That's typically how it works. States are kind of like little test tubes. They experiment laws, and then when they show to be effective, a lot of them are brought to the national level. So I do
Right.
think it's a good idea.
I understand
and
that. So I want to make it clear that let's look at this concept. Would you say, and you know, I think that the letter was written to say that it would require states to have a minimum of information. You know, so that would be simply, you know, each state will have their own responsibility, or will have a minimum responsibility. But again, you know, steps are in the process, working this out on a local level. However, the idea behind this is that if we wait and say, let's look at this on a state level, well, in 5 years, in 10 years, you know, with the way things are going, will illegal aliens outnumber Americans? I mean, we have 15 to 20 million illegals in this. They'll never outnumber Americans, but I'm saying, so 15 to 20 million illegals in the country right now. We're getting 1 million every year starting. It's increasing more and more. And so I would say maybe this may not be for this particular congressman. This may not be for Congressman Timmins, but there may be someone who's willing to take a chance and pin something
yes, sir.
up.
Please hold. I'm getting another call. I'll be right back.
I'm sorry, say that again?
All right, I'm back, Mr. Whittle.
I'm still here. Let's do this.
All right.
Do you have an email address you can provide me?
And what would you like to provide?
What I'm asking is, if you have an email address, I think that it would be a time saver, and we would most certainly be able to communicate more more clearly through email correspondence. Without a doubt, I can gather my thoughts. I can refine them. You can do so as well, and simply we can work towards finding the solution that makes us happy, that satisfies our need to see action taken to, you know, minimize the opposing party's arguments or their lack thereof, their underseated arguments, the arguments that they talk about. You know, in the prison they say, oh, well, they never teach you this, you know. But people don't talk like that out in public. I don't know why it is, but at those, you know, at these marches, at these rallies, you know, whether it was this or that, people are angry. People are extremely angry with the justice system. And so, you know, thinking if we email, we can avoid, you know, these poor metaphors, and things can be refined to make simple statements and determine what would be necessary to say this or that. Something that you can take to the congressman that he can say, yes, I will, you know, I will take steps to research this issue based off of this, and then we don't have to talk excessively. Can you provide me an email address?
Yeah, I'll give you the email for our judiciary staffer.
All right, hold on a second while I get something to write with. I'm ready.
All right, his name is Patrick. .McLean.
Can you spell that to me? And please use what is it, that alphanumerical that law enforcement uses? You know, go Jackie.
You know, I don't know off of them all of those letters off the top of my head. But McLean is spelled McLean.
I'm sorry, sir. Can Hold on a second. I'm gonna turn this machine down for a second. Hold on. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still there.
All right, I can hear you a whole bunch better now. Let's go for
Perfect.
it. Spell it out, Timmy.
McLean.
Right, and that first name.
Patrick.
Okay.
Yes,
Is that two
so his
T's?
email-
Spell it out.
PATRICK.
All right.
And so his email is patrick.mclean@mail.house.gov.
Okay. All right.
And
Patrick,
Mr. Woodall,
I
I would also like to give you your state representative's information because I am telling you this is the place for this bill. So your state senator is Dwight Loftus,
Okay.
and he has two phone numbers, 864-834-5760.
Okay.
And his Columbia office is 803-212-6100. And I would even further, I don't have the information from me, but furthermore, I would even say this would be done on a local level at the town council or city council level would be a great place for this to start.
You know what?
I
will-
understand
I
that's
will
not your
begin
main
to
desire,
submit
but
those
I'm
calls.
trying to give you the advice, the right advice here.
Well, I hear you. I hear you. You know, in the meantime, let me, I will contact, him, and also I will send over, I guess, a summary of, so, what, let me ask you, is this something that you spoke with staff about? Is this something that you spoke with Congressman about?
I am staff, and I did my own research on this, and it's my job to reach back out to constituents. But again, furthermore, talk to the staffer and see what he thinks about it as well. Send him an email, and y'all can open up dialogue there. Okay, Mr. Woodall. And now I got to go. I've literally had somebody on hold for 8 minutes now, so I need to go.
Well, I
Goodbye.
appreciate your time. Be safe.